Welcome to the Krista Redpath Show, where sports take center stage and stories come to life. I'm your host, Krista, veteran analyst and passionate storyteller, bringing you weekly in-depth conversations and sharp analysis across the world of sports. The Krista Redpath Show, breaking down the game, elevating the story, and championing the female voice. Today's show is proudly brought to you by the Big Sky Conference, where experience is elevated, and Vertical Raise, your premier online fundraising platform. This week on the Krista Redpath Show, I'm continuing to take you around the Big Sky in women's hoops, and our next stop is Flagstaff, Arizona. I'm joined by Laura Dinkins, the first-year head women's basketball coach at Northern Arizona University, who returns to lead her alma mater after 15 seasons of Division I coaching experience. Dinkins starred at NAU from 2003 to 2008, helping the Lumberjacks capture the 2006 Big Sky Tournament title and earn the program's first NCAA Tournament appearance, where they faced a number 3 Baylor as a 14th seed. In her career, she was named the Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year and finished among NAU's all-time leaders in rebounds. After coaching stops across the Big Sky, Mountain West, and most recently a championship run at Grand Canyon, Laura is back in Flagstaff to begin a new chapter for Northern Arizona women's basketball. Welcome to the show, Coach Dinkins.
Thank you so much for having me, Krista.
So, Laura, you've been a player here, an assistant here, and now you're back in Flagstaff as the head coach. When you walked back into the Sky Dome for the first time, what was that? What went through your mind?
Incredible and amazing experience. Kind of unreal. Every day I find myself kind of pinching myself to it was always a best case dream possibility. So for it to see it come to life has been incredible.
So I want to take it back just a little bit. You're from Rialto, California. What was it like growing up there for you? And did your family help shape a love of sports for you?
Absolutely. I came from a big family, lots of siblings. I was one of 6, kind of smack dab in the middle. So you know how it goes as a middle child. For those of you who are middle children, you're kind of left to your own to go figure things out. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I fell in love with basketball pretty early. Played a little bit of some middle school basketball, high school basketball, but it was in high school where I really found my passion and purpose, so to speak, with this sport. My parents were pretty big sports advocates and kind of helped support my interests from a early age, and the rest was kind of history, kind of ran away with it from there.
So during your recruiting journey, why Northern Arizona, or what drew you to Flagstaff?
I think being a girl from the Inland Empire is how we refer to it. It was something that was completely different than what I was used to. So the opportunity to be far enough away from home, but not too far, was intriguing to me. Kind of a chance to spread my wings and be out on my own. I just really fell in love with the mountains and the fresh air and the nature. It was unlike anything I had ever seen before.
So you arrived at NAU and you play for Lori Kelly. What did she demand from you as a player, and how did she influence your understanding of the game?
Toughness. I think she was really big on grit and toughness and eliminating excuses, and I think that's something that I rose to that challenge as an athlete, and now it's a big part of my coaching philosophy as well. You just find a way to get it done, and she was really big on toughness, and now I find that now that I'm in this position, I find myself demanding the same things from my players.
So there's that 2005-2006 team, Laura, that we just have to stop and talk about. So you go up to Pocatello. Idaho State gets the host that year, and you beat Montana to advance to the NCAA tournament. I mean, it's the only one in program history. What do you remember most about this run?
I remember a lot about this year, Krista. So I recall about 2 weeks prior to traveling to the conference tournament there at Idaho State, I had actually just lost my sister, who was about a year younger than me. So I went home and I was with my family for maybe about 2 to 3 weeks before deciding to come back and join my team and give it another go. Mm-hmm. But I remember how special it was to have the support of my head coach, Lori Kelly, mm-hmm. and my teammates just encouraging me to come back, the support. It it was a tough time for me in my life, but I mean, they really surrounded me with nothing but love. And it was just a special and incredible moment. And so then to do what we did as a basketball team is obviously a moment I could never, ever forget.
So Laura, it's so true. I'm just taking a moment to pause with that personal story. Your teammates they see you at your best, they see you at your worst, right? But the relationships that you form, those bonds, they're just so formative. And I find that as you go through struggles in life, those relationships are formed and those friendships just stay so much longer than any type of basketball game.
Absolutely. Those teammates are still some of my very best friends to this day. So incredible memories and incredible sisterhood that we formed during my time here as a player.
So you go to the NCAA tournament. You get a chance to play in the big dance. I got a chance to play in a few of them as a player at Montana. And I mean, it is bright lights, right? That's the big stage.
Yes, very much so.
You had some nice contributions, 8 points, 7 rebounds. I mean, this is as a younger player. What did that moment feel like being on that stage?
Incredible and nerve-wracking at the same time. I remember the pace of the game and the physicality was kind of unlike anything we had prepared for. But to be able to be in the moment, in the bright lights, and try to make a name for NAU was an incredible opportunity, and one that we had worked so hard for the entire year. So to see that to come to fruition was amazing.
And it's so true. You can work all year, and a lot of really good teams don't get there. Right. Yes. And so it's quite a remarkable journey to get to an NCAA tournament.
It is. Very blessed to be able to mark that off on my resume.
So as a player, you were named Defensive Player of the Year in 2007. Was that always a focus of yours, Coach Dinkins, of just being a defensive-minded player?
It was, I'll admit I probably wasn't the most skilled offensively. So I really made it a point for my identity to control the things that I can control, the effort, being a force on the glass, how hard I decide to work defensively. I really took a lot of pride in that and kind of just ran away with it. And then I saw that it really helped our team a lot, and so I really had a lot of pride in winning my matchup and getting stops. And so just kind of ran away with it, and that became my thing.
And so in your senior season, you had one of the best individual seasons in program history. How did that shape you or help you grow as a leader?
In a lot of different ways. I think that during my first couple of years, I was obviously surrounded by some really talented teammates, so it wasn't necessarily my role at that moment to have to step up and do all these different things. So once everybody graduated and I became a senior, I remember my coaches saying, okay, now we need to demand more from you. And so I think it says a lot for them to extend that opportunity to me, kind of showed me that they believed in me and being able to do some different things offensively. And so it was an incredible lesson both ways to be able to know that your coaching staff has that buy-in and trust. It really did a lot for my confidence.
So at that point, were you already thinking, Laura, about coaching? Was that something that was interesting to you as you were a player?
Yes, absolutely. I think coming in as a freshman, I always knew that I wanted to get into coaching. I just never knew kind of what level I would have started at. I would have assumed that I would, pay my dues and go through the high school ranks and kind of work my way up.
After your career ended, you continued to play professionally overseas. I did the same. And I think it's just an amazing experience to get outside of your comfort zone and go somewhere that you've never been. You played professionally in the Netherlands and Germany. You served as a team captain. You won a championship in Germany. What did that overseas experience mean to you?
I think it was amazing. One, to just get outside of my culture and see things the way that other people do things. Also, to see the game played in a different style did a lot also. I think in terms of knowing that I wanted to come back and coach, seeing different philosophies, seeing people play the game different ways. I wish that I would have taken advantage and played a lot longer than I did. It was such an incredible experience. And I for anyone who's ever interested in entertaining the ideas of going overseas, I'm a huge advocate for it. I think a big part of my development, both in terms of basketball, but then personally also, I really had an incredible experience. And I think everyone, if interested, should take advantage of the opportunity.
I completely agree. I feel like my experience overseas was so much bigger than basketball. I was able to teach at an international school and coach kids. But, just living somewhere, Laura, where the culture is different and you leave behind all of those familiarities and you're stepping out of your comfort zone.
Yes, very much so. Like to a lot of the unknowns, but it's so important to challenge yourself and push and get outside of your comfort zone. And for me, it was the first time I even learned how to drive a stick shift car, so nerve-wracking experience, but I figured it out.
Did you have any family or friends that came over to visit with you while you were playing?
None.
Either did I. I didn't either. So I felt like I was even more on my own. But I do think that those experiences, they will always be forever something that helps shape you into the future.
I agree completely.
So after your professional career, you returned to NAU, which is just awesome, back in 2010 as an assistant coach under Lori Kelly.
Yes.
So what was that transition like, going from being a former player to a coach in the same gym?
Absolutely. I think it's one of those things where, although I always knew that coaching was what I wanted to get into professionally, it's kind of one of those things where you don't really know what all is involved until you're actually coaching. From the outside looking in, it's like, oh, okay, you get to coach basketball. You go to basketball practices, you get exercise, you get up and down, but no one tells you about all the legwork that goes in behind the scenes, But right. I was really fortunate to come in under Lori Kelly, and she kind of was a great role model and really held my hand and walked me through exactly what it looked like to be successful in this profession. So I'm very thankful for that opportunity that she extended.
So how valuable do you think it was to start in the Big Sky, where you had the familiarity, trust, and you understood the conference?
I think it was extremely helpful. There was a lot of familiarity with the Big Sky. So I think that helped with my confidence and knowing right away as I'm speaking to these teams and we're working on scouts, kind of just coming from experience. I think that also helped with credibility and being so young, coming back into coaching with some former teammates who I was now coaching. So that helped tremendously.
Well, now I love it because you go up to Idaho State and you coach under Coach Seton Sobolewski, who's now entering his 18th year, but at the time was, in the early parts of his coaching, and he has spoke so highly of you and enjoyed having you on staff. Idaho State had a tremendous run before you got there in 2011, 2012, just a phenomenal year for them, going to the NCAA Tournament. Ashley Vela, Kayla Oakes, these are all familiar names for you. But what did you learn about developing players in the competitive league environment up at Idaho State?
Oh my goodness. I learned that there's another level to it. And I will always say this. I think Seton Sobolewski is one of the most talented, one of the most brilliant minds in the game. And so I'm extremely thankful to be able to work under him. He taught me so much in regards to my X's and O's and kind of having an eye for the game. And so I'm extremely appreciative of that. But it taught me and showed me how to work at a higher level. Mm-hmm.
Well, Coach Sobolewski continues to have his teams competing year after year, and I feel like it's a relentless approach. It is the X's and O's. He doesn't like to call himself a defensive-minded coach, but I feel like he always puts competitive teams on the floor, and that just shows his resiliency and his coaching fortitude.
Oh, absolutely. I was telling my team, like, Idaho State, we can tell you a number of things about this team without even watching a minute of film. They're going to be tough. They're going to be gritty. They're going to be relentless. And defensively, they will not let up.
So from there, you spent 3 seasons at Fresno State under Jamie White with multiple winning seasons. What did you take away from coaching in the Mountain West?
Oh, the Mountain West was an incredible opportunity. And for me, an opportunity to see how basketball is played outside of the Big Sky. I think it was an amazing opportunity to have a chance to coach under Jamie White. And again, to learn a different philosophy and style of play, I think was very essential and kind of just adding things to my coaching bag along my stuff. Take a little bit of this, take a little bit of this. Maybe if I was in the situation, I would do the same thing, but maybe a little differently. But amazing. And I think Jamie really was a huge mentor for me, not only just basketball, but as a woman coaching the game of basketball as well. I got to see her as a mother, a woman, a role model. I think all of those things play a key role in being successful in coaching women's basketball.
So from there, you head to Long Beach State. And your program improves every year. You post 3 straight winning seasons. What stands out about that stretch?
I think what I love about my time at Long Beach State was when we first came in and took over that program, it was a brand new coaching staff when I came in, I believe in 2017. And so I really got an opportunity to see what it takes to build a program from the ground up. And I think that's a huge tool and knowledge just to have in your bag, just to see what all goes in behind the scenes in terms of taking a team that doesn't win a lot of games and just staying with it and breathing life into them, and then eventually getting them to a team that's winning 20 games a year.
That's very impressive. You've coached now, at this point in your career, you've coached and you've recruited multiple all-conference players. What do you take the most amount of pride in, Laura, as you develop talent?
I just take the most pride in just seeing the development with my own eyes, taking a player and getting them to play beyond anything that they've ever imagined themselves. I think for me, I find the most joy in that, really getting them to develop parts of their games that weren't necessarily their strengths. And then to see them start incorporating the things that you're working on in skill sessions into live action games in real time is just extremely incredible and rewarding. It's so fulfilling.
You then go to Grand Canyon University, and we have to stop and really talk about this stretch. I mean, this team ranked among the best nationally on defense in 2024, 2025, a record 32 program wins, conference title. You earn your first NCAA tournament berth. Like, what part of that really resonates with you?
Oh my goodness, yes. I think the biggest thing when I think about my time at GCU was just the administration and the support and how much they really poured into women's basketball and just their belief and their expectations and their goals they have for all of their athletics programs. But to see that go from the top down can't do anything but encourage you and get you fired up and want you to be at your absolute best. And I believe that trickles down all the way from administration to the coaches, to the players who then begin just carrying themselves just a little bit differently.
So as you learned from, and you've mentioned mentors like Lori Kelly, Seton Sobolewski now, Jamie White, Molly Miller, you've had these special leaders that have formed and helped shape you. What shows up the most in how you lead today, learning from those mentors?
I think my biggest takeaway from all of the coaches that I've had the opportunity to coach under was just the importance of people. I think that you truly win a life with people. And so just learning how to do right by people has taken me a long way. The more that you can get people to feel invested in what you're doing in your program goes a long way. So the value of relationships, whether it's recruiting or it's with your fellow coworkers or your boss, just the power of relationships and how far that can get you, especially in this profession that we're in.
So as a first-year head coach, Laura, how do you balance those influences that you're talking about with still like being authentically yourself?
I think for me, just being able to, well, first and foremost, the ability to just make sure that I surrounded myself with a superstar coaching staff. I think that has allowed me to be able to delegate and take some stress off of myself in certain areas. That has allowed me to kind of breathe and be authentic to myself. Because as we know, the coaching profession can be extremely stressful at times, right? If you don't have those outlets. So it's been important for me to also be able to pick up the phone to all of these coaches. Like, there's no doubt in my mind, if I ever need anything, I could pick up the phone and I could call Seton Sobolewski. I can call Lori Kelly. I can call Jamie White. It's nice to know that all of these coaches that I've coached under, at the end of the day, they want to grow the game of women's basketball. So there are no secrets. And so it's nice to know that I have that outlet.
Today, I am joined by head NAU women's coach, Laura Dinkins. This episode is proudly brought to you by the Big Sky Conference and Vertical Raise. Coach Dinkins, it has been so fun to continue along and talk about your career and what has gotten you to being this first-year head coach. Now that season's underway, what have you most learned about your group?
What I would say I've learned the most about my group is just the importance of that team chemistry and that camaraderie with so many new faces. And for them, it's the same. So many new coaching staffs, just getting everybody on the same page and to buy into the same goal. And I think that we've really started to figure that out as of late. And I would say that we're starting to play our best basketball as of now.
Well, the play of Naomi White, who came with you from Grand Canyon, has taken the Big Sky completely by storm. She's a phenomenal player. I've been watching your games, and especially your game against Montana. I mean, she had 27 points, 10 rebounds, but I think what I loved, Laura, is her assists, and she just made teammates around her better. I felt like Audrey Taylor had a great game, Madison Watts. It just felt like she was really leading out there. Can you speak to those leadership roles and how Naomi has really helped settle in and lead your team?
Absolutely, Krista. And they say that that's the mark of a great player, right? It's making people around you better.
Yes.
And she's been really phenomenal on the season of really stepping into that responsibility of finding ways to involve her teammates, getting other people open, and it really speaks to the unselfishness of Naomi White. So I'm extremely proud of her performance on the season. She continues to get better every game. She's extremely young, but she's really done a good job of just being focused on the mission at hand and letting the game come to her.
The Big Sky is deep, I feel like, and it's competitive every night. I feel like now that we're into conference play, what excites you most about coaching in this league as a head coach?
I think what excites me the most about Big Sky play is that, as you know, the team that shows up on any given night and plays the hardest is the team that's going to walk away with the win, right? Yes. It doesn't matter necessarily how many wins everyone has or how talented you are. If you show up and you outwork your opponent in this conference, you'll have a lot of success. So it's nice to know that if you do those things and take care of the intangibles, you have a shot in this conference.
Well, and beyond those wins and losses, how do you grade yourself or grade your program on success in year one? What does that look like for you?
I think in year one, for me, success just looks like having a team that's taking care of business both on and off the floor. Because at the end of the day, it really is, women's basketball is so much bigger than just wins and losses,
Yes.
So I stress to my student athletes, we're student athletes first. So make sure we're taking care of our books. Are we good representatives in the community? So I think a lot of other things besides just the basketball, I just want to surround myself with good people. And I'm really happy with my basketball team. I love them. I think they're great young ladies. And I'm really proud. I tell my team this. I really wouldn't trade them for any other team in this conference. I wouldn't. Because I think part of overcoming adversity just makes the journey that much more special.
I love that. That's just so great that you look at it that way. So Coach Dinkins, you also have a family with young kids. And how do you balance that with coaching is just full time, it's year round, but do you bring the kids into the gym with you?
Yes, absolutely. There are a lot of practices after we pick our kids up from school where they're running around. My basketball team absolutely just with open arms embraces both of my sons, and so they're a big part of the program. Also, they travel with our team, and so just very blessed for this opportunity. But they've got 15 big sisters.
Yeah, looking out for them.
It's been amazing. Yes.
So when people look back at your time at NAU, and I know you're going for a long time because you're really just getting started, what do you hope that they say about Laura Dinkins and the program that you built?
At the end of the day, I want each and every student athlete to just have a positive experience because that's really why we're doing it. To be able to say that they felt like their coaches treated them the right way. They loved the relationships they made with their teammates. They felt like they got a good, valuable education and loved their time at the university and in the community. So I just want them at the end of the day to just have an overall experience. And if asked the question, would you do anything differently? I hope the answer is no.
Oh, I love that. Can I come down and play for you now? This has been so much fun just to get to know you. And I'm so excited you're in the Big Sky and you're back. And it really means a lot playing for the school and now coaching. Like it just all comes full circle. And I just really appreciate you taking the time today. Is there anything that you'd like to add?
No, this has been great. Thank you so much, Krista.
And we will see you throughout the rest of the season and for sure in Boise in March.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Excited.
Thank you, Coach Dinkins.
All right, Krista. Take care.
Welcome to Hoop Hits with CT. Carla Taylor's been on the floor, on the sidelines, and now behind the mic. Hall of Fame coach Carla C.T. Taylor joins me each week to talk Big Sky basketball. The longtime Weber State leader brings sharp insight, experience, and a true passion for the game as we break down the latest around the Big Sky. Welcome in, C.T.
Thank you, Krista. What a week of basketball this last week has been.
Hasn't it? It's just been crazy. So we finished week 3, and week 4 will start tonight, but we've just got to talk about some of these games. Where do you want to start?
Well, how do you not start with Montana State still undefeated? I mean,
yes.
Coach Binford doing such a great job keeping our team focused and doing it on the defensive end. I mean, their stifling defense creates so many offensive opportunities, fast break opportunities, and off turnovers, and they just continue to beat everybody so far. And it was a little bit of a close one against Northern Colorado the first half, 25-33, but then the third quarter they scored 32 points in the third quarter alone. They scored as many as they did in the first 2 in one quarter. That's how fast they can turn things around.
They really just get after it on the defensive end. And I was on the TV call for the Montana State game, and they definitely controlled the pace. That was one of the keys, was dictate pace, right? And to control it from a defensive standpoint. And they just made it so difficult for Montana, who is MAC-less right now still. So Montana's had to, make some changes, right? They're not used to losing that type of production from your point guard.
Catalyst.
She really is. She really is.
Matt Koenig is the catalyst for Montana. And even without her, on Monday, Montana gets their first conference win. But back to Montana State, it was fun to listen to you on the call. Yeah. It was fun. Good to see you back at on the table.
It was great to be back on the table. There was over 4,000 fans there. I'm telling you, CT, when it's kind of a skewed game like that, I was bringing out every bit of prep that I ever had. And half the time when you're on TV calls, at least for me, I feel like I don't use half of what I prep because you're following the flow of the game. And so, you have all these little facts about people, but you don't really get to say those unless there's something that you might want to just draw attention away from what's going on the court.
Yeah, exactly. So it was fun. It was interesting. Yeah. I think as listeners, I got to be a listener with you on the call, and it's fun to hear those things. And hopefully that the people at home that are listening to your amazing podcast or whatever it's called, your show, they get to hear and see some insight, right? They get some insight into what's going on in the big sky.
Yeah, I had some fired up Cat fans actually that got after me, which was kind of interesting because I thought, well, did you follow the game? It was actually more in Montana State's favor. But I had a few people that just weren't real happy and still consider me to be a Lady Grizz, which I always will be. I mean, part of my ability to do what I do is because of what I had at Montana and what I...
Yeah, but you're professional and you're so impartial, and I thought you were awesome. I think as a broadcast person, I'm a Weber State person, but when I call the game and I try to talk about what plays happen, and I think you did that. But when it gets lopsided, it's hard as a color person, the play-by-play color person, to say stuff, and you just kind of get to the point where you don't know what to say anymore when the other team is kind of blowing the other team away. It's hard. I feel for you.
And also, like, when it is a turnover is someone else's success. So as you have to look at how you're going to bring that up, right? I mean, the Lady Grizz had 32 turnovers. I mean, it was ugly. But at the same time, I could point to some really great play by Ella Johnson and Taylor Chirick and just getting after it on the defensive end, which led to great offense. I do want to give a special shout out to Jamison Phillip. She had a game, CT. Yes. I mean, 23 points, but as a freshman, she just stepped on the floor and just commanded her presence, and that showed a lot of poise for a freshman.
Right. Amazing what some of the freshmen, we talk a lot about Northern Arizona's freshman, Naomi White, but talk about some production by freshmen that are amazing. And I know you've mentioned this, Montana State doesn't have an upperclassman. I mean, they're young, and they're all going to be returning next year, and it's going to be the same, only better. And who's going to be able to break that Montana streak? Wow. Montana State streak.
Right. Some great, I always love to go to shoot-arounds. Do you go to shoot-arounds, CT, like on the day that you...
I do sometimes in Ogden, and, when I go to the conference tournament, I'd like to, but I know they're always far out and away. But I do like to, because you like to see what the preparation is, right?
Right. And then I also get to have some conversations with the players. And so I got a chance to visit with Taylor Chirick, but I also visited with Addie Harris. Mm-hmm. And in conversation with her, her mom played for the University of Portland. And what was really interesting, Carla Idzinga, I don't know if that name rings a bell, but she played 1993 to 1997, which was right during my years. The University of Portland ruined a couple Christmases for us.
Jim Sollers was the coach at that time.
And we lost. I mean, we rarely lost for the Lady Grizz, but we seemed to lose to the University of Portland, and it ruined our Christmas every year because it was the game before.
They were always good. Jim Sollers did an amazing job at the University of Portland, I'm pretty sure that Portland State's coach, Burrows, did she play for Jim as well?
She did. Okay, Carly, right. That would have been, that's a really good, yes. I'll have to look that up. I kind of went more down a rabbit hole because I found out that the year that we lost to them, which we only lost 4 times the whole year, we ended up going on and we were a number 9 seed in the NCAA tournament. We were undefeated in conference. They were undefeated in conference and were a number 9 seed as well. And they ended up losing to Michigan State by 5. We lost to Texas Tech by 2. But you could see where all of a sudden I'm going, this is amazing. So I got to meet her after the game.
And that's cool. Very cool.
So there's things like that just bring this all full circle, right? CT and why we do this. And to me, I'm like,
human side.
Absolutely. Yes.
And even your interviews with every one of the Big Sky coaches, I learned something that I didn't know about them. And it was interesting after the Weber State, Northern Colorado, Krista Mateo, I told her that I really enjoyed her interview and listening to it because I didn't know. And she said, yeah, we're human beings too. We're just people.
Right.
And I thought that was a great comment because they are just people.
Yes. And tonight's interview is with Laura Dinkins, and everyone is going to love her because she is fantastic. In fact, She's in a boot right now, though, CT.
I know. She was in a boot when I saw her.
Did you hear what happened?
To ask her
I got the story. Okay, so
you got to tune in.
Yes.
You have to tune in to find out.
Well, I'll tell you, because we don't talk about it on the interview. I mean, we're not going to talk about it, but I will say that she was thinking that she was still young and jumped in on the scout team and blew her Achilles.
Good for her.
And
she looks like she's in good enough shape to be on the scout team. I'll tell you that right now.
And I was joking with her because I said, I was just playing with my son and I was showing him some things about, just drives me insane how he stands around on offense against a zone. I'm like, you got to move. So I'm out there trying to show him some things and I'm like, what if I blew my knee doing something crazy like this?
Your mind thinks you're young and your body doesn't do what your mind is telling it to do.
Right, CT?
Yes, yeah.
So, okay, we digress. So we should jump back into, there was also another rivalry game, Idaho State at Idaho.
Yes.
And Idaho put up some points. Now, they had a tough weekend up in Montana. I mean, they ended up with a split, but they put up 66 and 67 points. That's under Arthur Marrera's normal of putting up 80 or more, but they got back into the swing of things and put up 81 points.
95 points against Weber State on Saturday.
Right.
I mean, that's the highest offensive output that the Vandals have had this year. Amazing. And watching that game, Deborah DeSantos hit her 1,000th career point, but what was amazing was to watch her as a mobile post player run rim to rim and score easy buckets off the other team's made baskets. Weber State would score, and they would jump it out, and she would run the court, which you'd love to see post players do that. Go rim to rim, layup. I mean, it was amazing to watch what Idaho can do offensively.
Now, she was a 4-star coming out of the portal, out of San Francisco, and so she's a player, and you can just see it. She has really good anticipation. And, of course, Arthur Marrera, I mean, look at what he's got. He's got just some players. I mean, Gardner.
Yeah, Gardner, the transfer from Montana or from Washington State, talk about another key player for them and just tearing up the Big Sky Conference.
She really is. And then you also have, just the size of Lorena Barbosa at 6'4", and her ability to be mobile. I mean, she's a pretty agile post. And Hope Hassman, I mean, she is just the hype player for Idaho, and it's just impressive.
And she can turn it on and score so quickly. She can shoot deep threes. She can take it to the rack. She's fun to watch. They're, right now, Idaho 4-1 in conference. Their only loss right now to Montana State. Oh, right?
Yes, right.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, so let's talk a little bit about that Weber State game against Idaho. So Weber State also put up some points, though, at 76.
It looked like a track meet.
It really did.
They just went back and forth. Yeah, they just went back and forth. I was able to watch it on ESPN Plus. But, Weber State scoring up some points, but they just couldn't get back defensively in transition and match and stop. And if they stopped the inside, there was a wide open 3-point shooter on the outside, and they were putting it up. To score 95 points, you got to put up a lot of shots.
You really
do. And
do.
make a lot of shots.
You really do.
Hats off to Idaho and Arthur Marrera and their team, because they're playing well.
And I'm rooting for Gentile Jackson. So I think she's going to get there. And I know that every game has been competitive. And for her, I think something great is she had 5 players in double figures. So that just shows they're spreading the ball. They're getting, they're getting opportunity. And so I do think that even though they're at the bottom and they don't have a win yet, I just look for that to change.
Still fighting for that first conference win. Montana, they got their first conference win this last Monday. That was a fun game to watch. Oh, my gosh. It came down to the wire, and NAU had a chance to tie it up at the free throw line with 3 shots when the 3-point shooter got fouled, and the poor free throw shooter missed the first one. But, I mean, that game, University of Montana, the Lady Grizz came out, and they were on fire. They looked like the normal Grizz team where they scored open baskets, and they distributed the ball and weren't counting on 1 or 2 players to do it, right?
Right.
They really, Land had 20 points, Kennedy Glett had 17, Wacker had 15, and Waddington had 10 boards. But that looked like the Montana team of the past.
I think that, it's just so hard. Montana State, they just have amazing pressure. I mean, it's a standard for Coach Binford. And so we don't see that consistently across every game in the Big Sky. We just don't. Rivalry games are, that's pretty amazing to be in the home court. But Binford has her defense just figured out. So you knew that there was not, that's not necessarily going to be the case for every other game within the Big Sky. NAU, though, I mean, Naomi White is just legitimate. CT, I mean, exactly. 29
she
points.
Is so legitimate. Oh. 29 points in their loss to the Lady Grizz. And she didn't have that many in the first half, but the second half, she really came on. Northern Arizona, they had 4 players in double figures against the Lady Grizz. And then their loss to Sac State, but NAU allowed 49 rebounds, which they don't usually do. And I'm sure Coach Dinkins was not happy about that because she is so big on rebounding, and to give up 49 boards against Sac State, ouch.
Well, yeah, and then also to give up 35 against the Lady Grizz. So Seattle Pacific and UND are the only 2 games Montana has won the Battle of the Glass this year. I got all these facts in my head roaming around, CT, from calling the game. I could tell you.
There's so many things to talk about.
There are so many things. But that was the difference for Montana, too, is they really got after it on the glass. And Avery Waddington leading the way. And she is just a premier player in the league, and I feel like Montana's got to work to get her the ball even more. And I think now with Matt coming back, which I think she's going to be back here, I think that'll help Montana. Nobody likes to say anything, right? They don't like to give any info.
Reports anymore. It's all secretive.
Right.
It's all secretive.
Right. I think they just want to make those scouts a little bit more difficult. So whenever she does come back, but I think she is, and I think Montana is doing it right in that they don't want to bring her back too soon because there's still...
Right. There's still a lot of games to play. And how about Northern Colorado, 5-2? And their loss to Montana State ended a 5-game win streak.
Right.
Northern Colorado, to me, they're legit. They have proven to be strong contenders in conference play on the road and at home. They're really solid.
They really are.
Inside, solid perimeter players.
Well, and Coach Matteo got a lot of offense from her bench. She didn't start Anaya Hall, and Heather Bayman continues to just play really great. She had 13 in there, and then Claire Frazier also with double figures. So Nina George with 9, and she had a tough game. I mean, Montana State just really exposes. She had 8 turnovers. I normally don't like to bring that up, and I'm not going to point at Nina George that way because I feel like Montana State wreaks havoc on.
Does that to everybody.
Right.
They do it to every single team. That's because they are totally bought in to playing defense 40 minutes. And I call it 40 minutes of hell. And that's what Montana State brings to the table. You're going to see 40 minutes of hell. And if you're not prepared to have those people in your face, in the passing lane, pressuring you, trapping you, you're going to turn it over a lot of times.
Well, and they're also pretty spread. So Montana State caused 25 turnovers for UNC, but when you take a look at the steals, I mean, you got Addie Harris with 2, Jamison Phillip with 3, Ella Johnson with 3. Then you go down to Cadence Couture, who's given them great minutes. She's the Missoula girl from Missoula Big Sky, who is a freshman coming off the bench. She has 3. So it's stifling because it's collective. And you're not just having one player. I mean, we got Taylor Cherrick that leads the league with 4 steals a game, but she's not the only one. So they put that trap on, and it's just ridiculous to pass out of.
And she brings in fresh legs every 2, 3, 4 minutes, and you've got other players on the floor that they didn't get a break. And here comes the fresh legs, the trapping, the pressure defense, and it wears on teams. If you're not prepared for 40 minutes of it, you're going to have a big old surprise.
She plays 10 deep, so that's for sure. So
all 10.
What a great week. And now we've got some big games coming up. So the Lady Grizz are at Weber. So CT, you'll be on that. Will you be on that call?
I will be.
So that's going to be...
I'm excited to see him. Every team that comes in, I'm so excited to see him because you watch on the on ESPN Plus, but then when you get to see him in person, it's just so different. And I'm excited Montana comes in, and then Montana State on Saturday.
So the Lady Grizz will continue and go up to Idaho State. And a key game on tonight will also be Montana State at Idaho State. Now, to me, that could be a really interesting game because we know Coach Sobolewski will be very prepared in Reed Gym. And he will have his players firing on all cylinders, and I think
will. And they're playing well. They're 4-2 right now. They lost at Idaho. You know, Tasman Jordan had
Tasia.
She had 20. Tasia had 23 points, and then they won over Eastern Washington. Held Eastern Washington to 57 points at Eastern. But what was impressive in that win? Their bench points were 22 points off the bench for Idaho State.
Really?
I thought that was really impressive. You know, they don't have to have their stars score to win. And they're another team. Idaho State's another team that is going to come in. They're going to be physical. They're going to be scrappy. They're going to play defense. They're going to rebound. They're going to cover up on the rebounds when you get a board, and they're going to make everything difficult. So it'll be interesting. That game will be fun to watch.
I'm so impressed with Coach Sobolewski, too. I mean, they're without Sophia Cavello, who I think is a phenomenal player, but Elise Abe, Tasia Jordan, Piper Carlson, Casey Spink. I mean, they just got some players, and I think that's going to be a real game to watch for sure.
I've said this all year, but he just gets them to play so hard every game, every minute, and there's never a letdown. If the only thing that they struggle at, it's when they struggle to score. But it's not for lack of effort or opportunity. They play hard for 40 minutes. I'm really impressed with Seton's teams as well, as you say. It's just that they really come out to play from the time the ball goes up till the clock is at 0.
So NAU will go to UNC on Saturday. So both of those two teams have tonight off. And they will play on Saturday with the Monday games. I mean, the Montana teams have a pretty busy schedule with having to play Thursday, Saturday, Monday, Thursday, Saturday. Excuse me, Saturday, Monday, Thursday, Saturday. So a lot of basketball in a row. And then we have Eastern that'll go to Portland State tonight. And then Eastern will go to Sac State on Saturday. And then Sac will have Eastern tonight. Right. So it should be some really good matchups.
You start to see some separations of the teams that are at the top. You know, Eastern's 2-3, NAU 3-4. You know, but then you get some home games. You know, maybe you get some more wins, or you steal some on the road. Right. And you see some teams that are winning on the road. Northern Colorado. You know, Idaho State, Idaho. But then watch, Montana State, I just don't, we could spend the whole time just talking about Montana State because they're so good. And that's not fair. But how do you not talk about a team that's undefeated in conference play and who's going to really challenge them?
I know. It's going to be really interesting. Montana State, only 4 losses. And it's the whole season. The whole season, and the 4 that they've lost to have a combined record of 56-13. And so there's no slouches that they lost to. No. And then, they've got some, the quad system, which we will have to dive into as we get closer. But they have a quad 1 win against Colorado, beating them on the road. And that's Colorado's only home loss is to Montana State this year. And then a quad 2 win at UNLV at home. So there's some, interesting scenarios if Montana State was able to turn the tables with winning 30 games last year and being a number 13 seed, that this year they could really, cause some, maybe make some noise with getting a better seeding than a 13, 14, or 15 or 16, which is what we've seen out of the Big Sky.
Exactly.
Don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Coach Binford wouldn't like me even saying this right now.
Like, Coach Binford would be like, don't even say that. Exactly. Don't talk about that. We're just one game at a time, right? But, Portland State 1-4, but Portland State played so well at NAU. They were in it until the last probably 6 minutes and just went 0 for 9, I think, from the floor. But they're not. They're a team that you have got to prepare, and you got to be ready for them. They rebound it, they shoot it, they play defense. Every game I've watched of all the teams, just so impressed with the level of play and the improvement of these teams that just continue to fight every time to try to get a win. But nothing's easy. Nothing's easy in the Big Sky Conference.
Nothing is easy. Well, CT, week 4 starts tonight. Super excited. I'm so honored that you are giving me your opinion and coming on each week because our listeners are really enjoying it. So thank you. And
well, you're sweet. And, shout out to you for doing this. And I hope that people that get on and listen understand how much work you put into it. I just show up when you tell me to show up and talk about it. But it definitely has made me more aware of what every team is doing. And it's fun to talk. Who doesn't want to talk about hoops, right?
That's right.
I'm with you there. It's fun. So thank you.
Thank you, CT. And thank you to the Big Sky Conference for sponsoring this segment and also Vertical Rays. Pete Hamill, just want to give a big shout out to our sponsors. So we'll do it again next week. Thanks, CT.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks as well to Laura Dinkins, head women's basketball coach for Northern Arizona University, for the insight and for taking the time with me today. And thanks to you for listening. This week's episode of the Krista Redpath Show was brought to you by the Big Sky Conference and Vertical Rays. Coming up next week, a great conversation with veteran college basketball official Bob Schofield, who has been officiating at the D1 level for over 30 years.